So I think it's really important that you become an expert, a specialist at one thing, right?
Mhm.
I find that the world out there, there's a lot of generalists. There's a difference between an advisor, let's say even in real estate, that makes $100,000 a year and one that makes $1 million a year. The one
Mhm.
who's making $100,000 a year is thinking, how am I going to make 100,000? How am I going to make 100,000? Whereas the person who's making $1 million a year is thinking, who's going to make me $1 million? Who? Notice the difference? Here you have everything. The how is like, I have to do everything. It's all on my head. The chief, chef and chief bottle washer. The
Mhm.
who is, who's going to be my team of other hyper specialists who appreciate, they've also gone deep in their categories. It's a
Mhm.
complex world out there.
Mark Halpern, how the heck are you today?
Excellent, Oliver. I'm doing good. It's sunny and there's no snow out, and I didn't put on mitts this morning, so I'm a happy guy.
It looks like you're keeping cool. It's about 48 degrees Celsius outside the last time I checked, and you look completely comfortable there in your blazer.
Calm, cool, and collected. Yes, it's the air conditioning's working just fine, and it's one of those things that we take so for granted. OMG, think of it. Less than
Yep.
100 years ago, we didn't have refrigeration, we didn't have air conditioning, we didn't have indoor heating, electricity. Like it's only 100 years ago. It's
And
crazy.
it, it- places like Singapore and Hong Kong, in their current iteration, could not exist without air conditioning. Forget about it.
Yeah,
It's world changing, and the I won't get too far off into this segment,
the
but
weeds.
yeah, it wasn't the inventor of refrigeration didn't initially necessarily. I think Carrier, that company Carrier.
Yeah, sure, sure.
How would they know 100 years ago is that it would end up being this sort of lifesaver that
Amazing.
it
But
is?
I came back. I was out of town. We got back on Sunday night, and before I left last Wednesday, I turned all the air conditioning and heating off.
Mhm.
Why spend that? So when we came back, it was 84 degrees, and it took about 12 hours for it to be cool. So what did I do? Back in the olden days, I slept in the basement. I went to the
There you go.
basement. It was very cool, and I survived.
That's where you keep the pickled goods as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm going to start with a quote of yours that I came across in prepping for today's conversation, and it goes as follows. Don't ever forget your family. It's vital that you put them first, even when you're swamped with work. No matter what happens, family will be the only ones left who will always have your back. And that really, I found that profound. And as I age, and I've been busy for as long as I can remember, busy, boy, that really hits home. And yet it's just so easy to forget in the business you're in and the business I'm in. And perhaps you could speak to that.
Sure. Well, look at it's very timely because I just got back from New York where I got to meet our newest granddaughter. And
Congratulations.
I've been married 30 years. October will be 30 years to my wonderful wife Rhonda, and we have 5 children, and now we have 4 grandchildren in just the last 12 months, which is kind of cool.
Wonderful.
It's like add water, instant family. And
You're
it's
right.
just as you get older, you appreciate it that much more that at the end of the day, your kids grow up and they're going to be married and they're going to have their own lives. And at the end of the
Mm.
day, it's just you and your wife. So hopefully, sometimes they say when the kids move out, your house isn't large enough, because even though now there's nobody there, but
Mhm.
you really do have to work on those relationships because at the end of the day, that's who's going to be there. And we grew up in a very close family. Family was very important. We still have great relationships with, at least one side of my parents' families,
Mhm.
like my mother's side or my father's side, and there's nothing like it. Those are the people that bring you to the dance, and they'll be there for you at the end as well.
That's beautiful. And again, as I age, it's one thing to have it told to you, but it's another thing to experience it. And I'm very much in that phase.
Yeah.
I seem to recall, I might be way off on this because I did not do the research, but did you have ads on classical FM?
Oliver, sure. We actually had a business called illnessprotection.com where
Okay.
we promoted a product called critical illness insurance. I had some celebrity endorsers, and we
Mhm.
started on the radio back in March of 2005. and we were started off on 680 News, 590, 640, 98.1, and
Mhm.
then we rebranded as wealthinsurance.com, and we were sure classic radio, jazz FM. We like that. As a matter of fact, we like classic radio. The owner of that station is a fellow by the name of Moses Znaimer, who
Of
started
course.
City TV. He's also a client of mine, and I can say that because we did a TED Talk back in 2019 that your listeners would probably love to see if they
Mhm.
Google Mark Halpern Idea City. The reason I bring that up is because he's a client and he introduces me. And I was in the disruptors category, and the topic was called the new philanthropy. And it's really an interesting subject matter. But yes, I was that guy on the radio.
And I saw a clip of him just before the last election, and he's I don't know how old he is, but he's been around forever. I remember Speaker's Corner from when I was,
Sure.
10 being the
Hmm.
coolest thing on the planet.
Totally.
And it was Moses behind it. And he's still alive, but also alive and kicking and opinionated and just the same
He's in
strong
his
force.
he's in his 80s. He's a force of nature. He's
Mhm,
been there are people that are in the box, and then there are people that are out of the box, and then there are those people who don't even see a box. And that's Moses Neimer. He doesn't see a box. So for him to come up with the Electric Circus, City TV, he's the owner of CARP, Canadian Association of Retired Peoples,
mhm.
classic radio, Vision TV, and he's still ramping it up every day. And I think that's a really important point, Oliver, that the key to life is you have to always be busy and doing something where you're needed. Once you stop being busy and you stop doing things where you're needed, then it's a very, very steep incline to the abyss and getting old very, very fast. So, I
Absolutely.
totally resonates with me.
Well, he had the foresight to pick up 299 Queen Street West back when Queen was a dive. And here he took on this humongous building that no one wanted to touch. So kudos to him because that became sort of the anchor for what he took, you know,
Sure. His
envisioned
media
and
empire.
brought to life.
Sure.
You touched upon philanthropy, and what really drew me to your profile, so to speak, is the emphasis on philanthropy and family legacy. But I want to throw you a curveball, and that is all I seem to hear when I speak to people my age, couples,
How
both
old are
have
you,
good
all?
jobs.
How old are you, Oliver?
I'm turning 50 in about 2 weeks.
Wow, big
Yeah.
number, man. And
Yeah.
married, children?
I got two kids. They're a 6-year-old son and a 9-year-old daughter.
Beautiful.
So I'm not changing diapers anymore, but I'm still in the thick of things.
It's a good time. Those are good ages.
All I seem to hear is anecdotally and say in the media is a couple, maybe with family, they have two good jobs, maybe even six-figure salaries, and yet they're treading water. And so, complicated question, perhaps give me the essential elements, and that is, Mark, how can I build a family legacy, um, or have these philanthropic aims if I feel like I'm just paying taxes and the cost of living has gone through the roof and I'm just treading water?
Good question. So let me take two steps back. Okay. Remember, I'll do
Mhm.
two, then one, and you'll remind me that I had two steps to talk to you about.
Gotcha.
First step is I've been a professional advisor for almost 35 years, Oliver, but my real start was actually in 1974. And that's my father, blessed memory, died of a massive heart attack at the age of 50.
Mm.
Imagine you, right? Like I'm just saying, you still have the training wheels on, right?
Yep.
So he was a great father. It was very hard. I was the youngest of four boys. I was 11 years of age, and my mother, who was 48 at the time, had to go back to support our family. Why? Dad loved us, but he was a busy engineer, and he didn't have a will, and he had, very little savings and no life insurance. So it was very hard for us. We had to develop a real struggle muscle. But fast forward, I work with some of Canada's most successful business owners and entrepreneurs and affluent families and regular people, Oliver, just like you. And you'd think they'd have everything all organized and together. But I'd suggest 80% of the time they don't. They're so busy looking after everything and everyone else that they don't have basic planning in place. So number one, Oliver, your public service message is number one is we help people in three different areas. One is in estate planning. So
Hmm.
making sure that people's financial architecture and your financial furniture actually align, making sure you have a will, powers of attorneys, titles, proper titles on things, insurance, what happens if you get sick, a retirement plan. That's planning 101, but most people are sort of like whack-a-mole. Remember going to
Mm.
the exhibition? Remember
Oh yeah,
whack-a-mole?
it's my
Whack,
favorite.
whack. Like there's no plan. Just whatever comes up. So the second area that we're involved with is tax mitigation strategies. You alluded to it, Oliver. There's so much tax, but there are ways for people to keep taxes if they look at something like tax exempt life insurance strategies that we specialize in, and that's
Mm.
something to consider. It's almost like getting a no limit TFSA, as as kind of like akin to that. And then the last area is really what you were alluding to, the philanthropy side. We love helping people create enduring legacies, often just by converting taxes into charity. So that's the stuff that gets us up, in the morning. It gets us very excited.
Hmm.
But the second part, as I mentioned, is how does the philanthropy all fit in? So, if God, let's say I came up with the cure for cancer, and it was just me, I'd be so excited. Who do I show it to first? Who do I tell? Who's going to believe me? So I don't have the cure for cancer, but there's so much that Canadians don't realize that they could be doing other than giving cash checks and credit cards to actually create more money for causes that they care about, or opening up a donor advised fund or a private foundation, often just by converting tax into charity. So that's the
Mm.
amazing part. So people really need to take a step back, find someone that they can speak to understand their own personal situation, and then do something great. So, for instance, last week, Oliver, this isn't a mom and dad situation, but a woman out west contacted me after hearing me on a charitable workshop, and
Hmm.
she had about $5 million in a RIF and about $27 million in a corporation made up of stocks. So the first thing she has to realize is that her $5 million registered asset is going to be taxed at 54%. So it's not really worth $5 million. It's only worth like 2.2 million. What? And then her
Mm.
stock portfolio, there's going to be a tax on that, and getting it out of the company will be taxed at about 50%. So it's not worth 27 million. It's only worth 13 million. What?
Mm.
That's called planning. Once you see the planning, then you can move the shells around to make sure your family gets everything that you've built up. So you're preserving family money, and you can create money for charity, and Ottawa gets zero. So, again, we need money for Ottawa. Don't get me wrong. But we have to pay taxes, but there's no law that says that you have to leave a tip. And they've
I
introduced
like that.
25 different pieces of legislation since 1995 to make it more favorable for Canadians to give to causes that they care about. And
Hmm.
and when it comes to charity, I think the last thing I want to say is people believe that charity begins at home, and it's true, Oliver. You have to take care of your 9-year-old and your 6-year-old, right? But giving to charity is not about disinheriting your kids. It's about adopting causes that you're passionate about and disinheriting the tax. Do you hear that? It's a little bit of a paradigm shift. Don't
Hmm.
feel like your kids are going to be, thrown under the bus. It's about adopting charity and disinheriting tax. So I think that people really just need the education around that.
I'm intrigued. So I'm turning 50. I have life insurance, fairly recent as well.
Good man.
And
Good man.
but no will, because I'm convinced I'm going to live another 50 years. No bus is going to run me over. What do you think?
So, Oliver, do you have a wife, or are you
I
a
do.
single parent?
Indeed.
Okay, good. So let me just tell you what happens if you don't have a will in Canada. And the good news is that the government have determined a formula for what to do with your money if you should die before your wife. But
Mm.
it's not something you're going to be very happy about because you have minor children. So the formula is this: the first $300,000 of all your net worth goes to your wife. The balance gets divided up between your wife and your 9-year-old and 6-year-old equally, and it gets invested by a public trustee for your 9-year-old and 6-year-old in GICs, and then at age 18 they get all the money. So you
Oh, I
don't
don't like
think
that.
you think your wife's going to get all that stuff? Wrong. Your kid. So that means imagine you have a house that's worth $2 million. Let's just say your net worth $3 million. So your wife's going to get 300,000, and then the rest which could include your house. The equity of your house actually belongs to your kids.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that. So it really behooves you to get some ink on paper. It's not a complicated thing, Oliver. You don't need to go to Bay Street to get some, expensive lawyer. Just get it on paper. You'll also need 2 powers of attorney. Those
Mm-hmm.
are things that basically say that if you become incapacitated, 1 power of attorney allows someone to make health decisions for you. The other
Mm-hmm.
allows people to make financial decisions for you. Now, likely it's going to be you and your wife, Oliver, but do you ever travel?
Yeah, we do a few
Yeah, so
times
I'm
a
just
year.
saying. So I'm just saying, God forbid there's a common disaster. You and your wife. It can happen. Who steps in? Who's going to be the trust? Who's going to be the guardian of your children? Do you want there to be like you got to spell all that out now and put it on the table? It's not a fun conversation. Let's face it, it's kind of icky. Nobody likes to think
Mm-hmm.
about what happens when they die, but these are really big boy discussions to have, and they really do give us peace of mind, because this stuff does rent space in our brain. And when it rents
Right.
space in your brain, it zaps us of energy. So I'm very happy to make a referral for you, an introduction to somebody, but it really should be something you do right away.
I'm booking my Zoom call right after we get done with this conversation. You've
Scary,
convinced me.
no? It's a scary thing to know. Like people just don't know what they don't know.
It is, and it's just kicking the can. So that's my story, and that's the story of, I guess, millions of Canadians as well.
Exactly.
You speak of in a interview I read, you speak of a men's club that began in the 90s, and this was a fairly recent interview. And you don't have to jump into details, but it really spoke to me. So all over
Wow.
my feed these days is what are we as men? What do we mean to our families? What does it mean to be a provider?
Oliver, we could have an hour-long conversation about this.
I think
It's
we're
so
down to the
cool.
last few minutes, but clearly this has been something that's been key to what you are today. Is the men's club still in effect?
Absolutely. I did a men's weekend back in July 1993 that had a big impact on me. But
Mm.
we set up a team. So we started off with 6, but we have 5 guys, and we've been getting together now since April 1997 on a weekly basis.
I love
Okay,
it.
where it's a place where you sort of declare where you were being the man you want to be that week, where you weren't being the man you want to be. You make commitments, you're held accountable, there are consequences, but it's also a place to have a lot of fun. Like, in other words, guys, when we were at our peak of energy and strength, it was when we were in the schoolyard with our banana seat bicycles, with the
Yeah.
hockey cart and the spokes making noise. You felt like you're part of Hell's Angels or whatever. And then what happened is along the way we met girls, and we kind of lost our friends and became very, I'm not
True.
going to call it emasculated, but just, men and women are different. And you need sometimes, I was talking to my wife about it this morning. She's so appreciative that I've got this great place to go with my friends. We don't do anything wild and crazy. Each of us are married, kids, grandparents, but we've grown together. So
Mhm.
we've built that out to a much larger group. But I'm a very big believer that, it's a lonely world out there. And in order to be successful, not only do you need a coach and a mentor, you need a team. You need like a posse of guys so that you can sort of take off your mask, like we all have a mask on, and you take off your mask and you realize that everybody's trying to do the same thing, trying to be the best father or the best husband, the best provider,
Mhm.
exercise, take care of yourself, take care of the community. And it's not easy. So when you have a group, it's like it's something that helps you and motivates you and keeps you strong. So thanks for asking that question, Oliver.
I'm going to propose that the group, you've been active since the 90s. You might need some fresh blood. I'm not even 50 yet. I'm going to look for my invite in the mail in the next week.
Well, you know what I've done though, Oliver? I do have a very cool mentoring coaching program called powerofplatinum.com. We've been around now for 5 years. It's over 5 years, over 200 advisors, professional advisors, insurance, investment professionals. We provide them a community, because also it's very lonely. You're in the real estate business. That's
Yeah.
lonely too. So we have this community. We meet on a monthly basis. They get some coaching once a month. We have a
Mhm.
WhatsApp group. We share and inspire along the way. We collaborate on cases together. It's been great, and I love giving back because I've been very much the beneficiary of great people before me who shared their most intimate concepts and ideas without any ask for reward or payment, just
Mm.
because they were giving back. So we believe in pushing it forward.
Mark Halpern, in our final couple of minutes, you very much already addressed my last question, which was you're in a busy field. I sense um, wealth management, financial advisory. I'm in a busy field. There's 70,000 or so agents in the GTA alone. What have you done to distinguish yourself through all these years? If you could sum it up, we've hit a lot of points during this short conversation, but is there one overriding sort of theme or ethic that has helped you stand out?
Absolutely. It's a great question. And I like to say, how is it that you differentiate yourself from 70,000? I mean, Remax always says rise above the crowd, right? So they say, join
With the
it, right?
balloon,
Right? With the hot air
assuming you don't
balloon.
have your own hot air balloon, what do you do?
Exactly, exactly. So I think it's really important that you become an expert, a specialist at one thing, right?
Mhm.
I find that the world out there, there's a lot of generalists, and if you're vague about what you do, then what happens is you get ghosted, right? So you
Yeah.
people just won't know what you. So you have to be 30 miles deep as opposed to 30 miles wide. Now that doesn't mean that you can't be doing all that other stuff, but there's a great book called "Who Not Why," not Who Not How, Who Not
Hmm.
How. And what's special about that is, there's a difference between an advisor, let's say even in real estate, that makes $100,000 a year and one that makes $1 million a year. The one who's
Hmm.
making $100,000 a year is thinking, how am I going to make 100,000? How am I going to make 100,000? Whereas the person who's making $1 million a year is thinking, who's going to make me $1 million? Who? Notice the difference? Here you have everything. The how is like, I have to do everything. It's all on my head. Chief, chef and chief bottle washer. The
Hmm.
who is, who's going to be my team of other hyper specialists who appreciate, they've also gone deep in their categories. It's a
Hmm.
complex world out there. I want to partner with those people and be a partner with them because I'm going to be a business development person. I love to help other people. I love to help my clients, and I want to basically have them speaking to people who share my philosophy as well.
Hmm.
You create that kind of a community, you'll find you'll be extremely successful and you'll have a lot of leads and business that's coming into your mill. So, who, not how, become a specialist.
Hmm.
And also, last thing I just want to say, we can finish. There's two lumberjacks who happen to chop wood all day long. Like that's their job. Yet one of these lumberjacks leaves this group for an hour a day, and he comes back. Nobody knows where he goes, and he comes back and he chops wood, and he actually chops more wood than anybody else. Yet he was gone for an hour. So after some time, one of his colleagues is like, "What's going on, man? Like, we're chopping all day. You take off for an hour. You come back, and you're more successful than us. What are you
Hmm.
doing exactly?" He says, I just go home and I sharpen my axe. I sharpen my axe for an hour, right? How many of us are actually sharpening our axe? We're so busy.
Yeah.
You got to take time off to sharpen your axe. You have to take courses. You have to find coaches. You have to find mentoring. You also need to spend time with your family. You need to go on vacations. You need to have a balance of life. Otherwise, you're going to burn out, especially in today's world and especially living in the GTA, but you're also not going to be successful. So believe it or not, by taking the time off, by investing in those projects, you're actually going to be more successful. And then the last thing I just want to say is at the end of the day, I'm a religious guy and I know that everything that I have comes from above, right? From the Almighty. So I don't feel that if I'm sitting in front of somebody like they're going to make me money or they're going to lose me money. I don't. I know that it's determined, how much I'm going to make for the year. I have to put in my effort, all the rest of it. So if this guy wants to do business with me, great. If he doesn't, it's not going to change anything. So don't feel
Hmm.
anxious like, oh, I got to get this sale. I got to get people will know. They'll see that you're anxious. Be relaxed. Be a relationship person. Ask good questions. Develop relationships, and you'll see you'll get a lot of business from that person and from the referrals that they send you.
Mark Halpern, words to live by, wise words. And let's go out there into the world realizing that it's a world of abundance, not a world of scarcity. And I think that really speaks to things. Mark, where do we find you online? How do we get in touch?
Sure. You can send me, anybody can send me an email, Mark, M-A-R-K, at wealthinsurance.com. We have a website, wealthinsurance.com. They can call me, 416-871-4357. Connect with me on WhatsApp. Look at, I don't know if we can help everybody, but generally we can't help everybody. If it's not us, we can certainly find you the right address, for someone to be able to provide you with the services. But, don't wait around. Don't like having the experience of my father, you turning 50. How apropos is that? Oliver, like I look at you, you look like a kid. I can't believe I'm 63. My dad was a kid. No, my dad was a kid. So, do something, reach out to your advisor, but get it done. You'll see it'll give you tremendous peace of mind, and it'll make you be more successful on all your endeavors, including your relationships with your family, when you know that everything's in its right place.
Mark, what a pleasure. And I really appreciate that you put your personal email and your phone number out there. You're accessible. You carved out the time in your busy day to meet with me today. And that's priceless. And I want to thank you again.
My pleasure. It was really great, Oliver. Thank you so much for inviting me. And we're going to be in touch, you and I. I can't wait to see you get that will and powers of attorney in place. I'm holding you accountable. This is our new men's group, okay?
The new men's group, and you're going to vet my will for me to make sure all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Pleasure, Oliver. Thank
you
so much
for
for
day.
having me.
Stay cool.
You too. All the best. You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.